once again, and welcome back. Today we will be reading from chapter 2, and the title is Another World, and the title of the episode is Man in a Hurry. And today's scripture goes along with James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Malcolm Tucker is a wealthy businessman from Charlotte. One Sunday he happens to have car trouble a couple of miles outside of Mayberry. Malcolm walks the rest of the way to town and meets Andy coming out of Sunday morning worship. Andy offers to assist Malcolm, but warns that it is nearly impossible to get anything done on a Sunday in Mayberry. Malcolm begins to lose patience when Wally, the filling station owner, refuses to fix his car because it is policy not to work on Sunday. Furthermore, Malcolm is dumbfounded when he learns that he can't even use the telephone because the elderly Mendelbright sisters use the party line to visit on Sunday afternoons, since they are unable to get around very well. Back at the Taylor house, things don't get much better for Malcolm. He explodes into a tirade, screaming that the citizens of Mayberry are living in another world, that this is the 20th century, and while the whole world is living in a desperate space age, the town of Mayberry shuts down because two old ladies' feet fall asleep. Out on the front porch, Malcolm actually begins to relax as Barney and Andy sing the old spiritual Church in the Wildwood. But this calm moment is short-lived when Gomer informs Malcolm that his cousin Goober has offered to fix the car. Later, when Gomer returns with the car, Malcolm is surprised that there is no charge for the repair, since it was just a clogged fuel line. Goober actually considered it an honor to work on such a fine machine. As Mr. Tucker prepares to leave, he stops and contemplates the events of the afternoon, as well as his return to the activities of his hectic life. Malcolm realizes that the very characteristics of Mayberry life that initially frustrated him so much are, in fact, the priorities he needs to establish in his own life. He decides to put his business on hold and stay the night in Mayberry. I think the reason the episode Man in a Hurry is so popular is that we can all see ourselves in Malcolm Tucker. We can all get caught up in our daily activities to the extent that we are blinded to everything else going on around us. And when things don't go our way, we explode. It's a lesson of patience, and one I need to remind myself of daily. I expect things to happen on my time. I expect to be in a certain position in life by a certain age, and if I don't make that goal, I become exasperated. One of my struggles is living my life on God's time, and even though I may think that I am ready for the next step, God's plan might be quite different. I can also understand Malcolm's frustration because I tend to be a very organized person. I start my day with a list of activities, and I carefully plan my time so as to get everything accomplished. When something happens to disrupt my schedule, and something always does, I get all bent out of shape. Now, I'm not saying that order and planning are bad things, but I think they can be taken to the extreme. If I'm so regimented that one unexpected event throws me into turmoil, then I might need to re-examine my priorities. I have often heard the suggestion that every once in a while you should stop and imagine what you would say about yourself if you could attend your own funeral. I'm not talking about reflecting on your lifetime accomplishments, but about the type of person you were. In my case, I don't think I would be proud of how uptight I tended to be. I wouldn't brag about how intolerant I was when I didn't get my own way, and I doubt I would fondly remember how I tended to lose my temper when events in my life didn't go the way I planned. However, by reflecting on my life now, I still have time to make some important changes and to address some things in my life that I can improve. But like Malcolm, I have to want to make those changes in my life. Similarly, Malcolm's unplanned visit to Mayberry caused him to consider his own priorities. He was forced to deal with people and situations that were not a part of his itinerary. For one day he was not in control. Mayberry was. His initial reaction was to reject everything Mayberry had to offer. He refused to eat Sunday dinner with the Taylors. He refused to relax on the front porch. And he resisted adopting the pace of a Mayberry Sunday afternoon. Malcolm had an attitude we all have at one time or another. He couldn't see past his own busy self. By being blind to everything but ourselves, we, like Malcolm, miss out on so much in life. I believe that when we all look back on our lives, we will wish that our priorities had been a little bit different. We will wish we had spent more time doing the things that really made a difference instead of worrying about the aspects of our lives that didn't mean that much at all. If a visit to Mayberry could adjust Malcolm's priorities in life, maybe we all could stand to have car trouble there every once in a while. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is Joseph, son of Jacob. In my opinion, Joseph is the example of how to maintain patience and the proper perspective on life. From an early age, injustice and hard times seemed to follow Joseph. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers and was later falsely accused by Potiphar's wife. I don't know if I would have been patient enough to wait on God. I think that I would have felt pretty sorry for myself, wondering why all these bad things had happened to me when I hadn't done anything wrong. Joseph, however, was not caught up with his own life. He knew that God was with him and that God had a plan for him. He also had the wisdom to know that God was going to act in his own time. In the end, Joseph's patience paid off. He was placed second in command over all of Egypt and was reunited with his family. So, whenever I feel dejected or angry that the events of my life are not happening in accordance with my plan, remembering Joseph seems to put my life into perspective. Thank you again for joining me for Chapter 2 in The Way Back to Mayberry by Joey Fann. Have a good day.